think we should be live.
Okay. We are.
Okay, well, hello everyone. We're going to work on some art for Delver's Drop and talk about who knows what for an hour or two.
Random nonsense, as usual.
Did we want to keep working on, well, I've got some element bannery things to work on, so that we can get that update out, or we can work on enemies and creatures and stuff again.
Should probably do the elemental banners so we can get that update out. Is my guess. And I started writing the next one. I just haven't put it on the draw. Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay.
The one that we were talking about that I don't want to spoil because I think it's a pretty cool idea.
I'm now forgetting which one we're talking about. Oh, we got some of Kobe's kids here in the office today, kind of in and out.
Cool. Did you say you did forget,
they...
or you're not forgetting?
I think I forgot what we were talking about.
Oh, the seasonal the update that coincides with.
Oh,
with,
right, that one. Okay, I thought you meant some big lore thing.
No.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having to hunt through my file structure. I suddenly, like, today's been kind of a long day already, and I apparently forgot where I was saving the element files.
You got to go shopping, which is exciting.
Oh, well, not so much shopping as like driving all over or tramping all over. I'm getting married in 6 weeks, and so for anyone who doesn't know, which might be most of you, but we went. Thanks. Yeah, we. Katie and I went to our venue, which is an outdoor place, like down in Branson, Missouri, and so we kind of planned out like, okay, the tent's gonna go here for the reception, all the chairs will go here for the ceremony, and planned it out with the couple who owns the property and all of that. So that was my morning. So I got up earlier than usual, and I'm not a morning person, so I'm kind of starting to feel it a little bit right now, and I'm just generally having kind of a brain fart with this Delver stuff. Okay, I got the file now though.
Which ones do you need to do yet?
Well, I did all of them, but some of them need a little adjustment. Like, they aren't all the same width. And I need to finish Spoil because I wasn't very happy with it. But yeah, I did the not so smart thing and didn't make them all the same size. So some of them look like I do this sometimes where I tend to get more detailed as I go along, or vice versa. But usually like more detailed if I just kind of get in a groove, which always isn't always a good thing.
I really like the Merc and Splendor one. I think those came out really well.
I think the earlier ones are actually more successful. Like, Thrive was hard, it got really fussy, like it's too busy, and I kept trying to simplify, but I was just like, it's actually sometimes it's just harder to simplify than to do it right the first time, I guess.
Echo's pretty cool. I like Muddle and Sunder, they're both pretty cool too. Thrive is a bit messy. I agree on that.
So, and you can see that Flux is quite a bit wider than some of the other ones, so what I need to do is I'm just going to go through kind of a cleanup phase. I couldn't remember, I thought I still had a couple to do, but I just have to finish Spoil, really. And I think Surge is a pretty good size, so we will use that as our guide.
Sounds good. So what have you been doing other than the wedding? I'm imagining that's taking a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean it's not too bad, but a lot of my evenings I'm like working on invitations and whatnot.
I've thanked you off stream, but thank you again for the invitation.
Yeah, no problem.
And again, congratulations. Big deal. I didn't even get an invitation from my brother when he got married. I just showed up because my dad knew it was happening. Did I ever tell you that story?
I think you told me off air, probably.
All right, well, I'll say it on air because it's kind of, I guess, amusing and also a massive clusterfuck. So my brother got married. He did call me to tell me he was getting married. I don't want to make it sound like he didn't want me at the wedding or anything like that. But I, didn't get a formal invitation or anything like that. So my brother called, and then about 2 minutes later, my father called. He's like, "Did your brother call you? Do you know what's going on?" I was like, "Yeah, I know." This is before PAX as well, actually, because he got married right after PAX. I think I was home for a week before I had to be back on a plane traveling. He's like, "Well, you're coming," because I didn't know if I was gonna go, because I didn't know if I was gonna have the money. I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm going. If you're buying the plane ticket, I'm gonna go." He's like, "But we're not telling your mother or your brother, because you told Ryan that you didn't know." I was like, "Okay, I guess we're not telling my brother that I'm going to his wedding. We'll just come in as a surprise." So they didn't think I was going, so I wasn't like put on any of the, I wasn't included in any of the meals or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got there, and I don't know where my mom and my, I guess now sister-in-law and brother, my brother was at work, I guess, but I didn't know where the other two were. And I was just in the dining room, and my mom comes in, and she looks at me, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" As the reaction is like, "I guess I'm here for the wedding." And she's like, "Well, we don't have a seat for you." I was like, "He's getting married in a cave. There's no seats."
In a cave?
Yeah.
Is he like a spelunker or something?
No. There's
Spelunky
this
wedding?
That would be pretty cool, a Spelunky themed wedding. I would totally be down for that. No, there's Ohio has a lot of like geological, caves and ravines and all that, especially down south as you get closer to the border of West Virginia. So I don't know why they picked this particular cave, but it's people get weddings there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So but it was raining. It was not a good venue, so to say. Wasn't particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was planned out well, but nothing went. And it rarely does ever go to plan. So nothing really went to plan.
Yeah.
And it's in a very rural part of Ohio. Like the place that I slept was this log cabin out in the woods that had no power or electricity or anything or heat.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know about Ohio, but it can get pretty cold, even in July, which is when he got married. So it was a rough night. I think I put on all of my clothing.
Doesn't sound like the most fun weekend, I guess. But they got married. That's what's important.
Yeah, they got married, and that was what was important. And I was there to see my brother get married, which was the important part. But yeah, it was stressful for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, it had to be a surprise that I was going on top, and that just added a bunch of stress to an already stressful getting, final prep for wedding. Where are we gonna house this extra person? How are we gonna feed this extra person? So it was definitely interesting. I mean, I can't lie. It was pretty cool to be like the center of chaos, but living out my
the final boss for your own video game.
Yeah, it was pretty. That was pretty cool.
Final boss called the Center of Chaos. I'm sure some RPG has had a boss named that.
Sure, I can believe it. I mean, Final Fantasy has a boss just called Chaos, so it's not too far off.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice to go home, though. I just didn't have a lot of time or mobility to do what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Since I couldn't plan, and everyone was, using the cars, so I was pretty stuck for the most part, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
kind of wanted to go back and see my old high school, but that's, you know, it was an hour and a half drive away from where we were living, or where they live, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But next time, maybe I'll go back. I think I'm going for Thanksgiving. We'll see. You'll know before anybody else knows, because it'll impact streaming
streams.
and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and we might have to skip a couple weeks anyway, getting into the holidays and all, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have some traveling to do and all that for, you know, like probably as much or more than usual, like the multi-family Christmas, this, that, and, you know, whatever else.
Well, if there's a build out by that point, then I won't be skipping a live stream,
Yeah.
because, you know, I live a continent away from my family, so
A continent?
I live almost on the west coast. They live almost on the east coast. There's the entirety of North America between us.
Where do they? I thought they were still in Ohio or something.
They are, but that's fairly close to the coast.
Oh, you two are still, like, I mean, kind of. But yeah, it's still just like half the country, not a whole country.
Okay, half a country away. That's a long way.
Yeah.
It's a 3-day drive, which I've done with no stops and no sleep, which I don't recommend. Don't do that. It's dangerous. It's stupid. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, that does not sound like a good way to spend a week or a weekend or whatever.
No, it got pretty miserable at the end. But we might be doing something similar for PAX South. Looks like I'm gathering people up to go.
Well, that'd be cool. But you can at least like take turns driving. Like
Yes.
you know, unless you live in the same town as someone from your hometown, it's kind of hard to carpool to your parents' house.
Right. I wouldn't be able to carpool to your town or my parents' town by myself.
Yeah.
without stops. So. Unless my sister and her boyfriend or someone wanted to go and visit for whatever reason, which I don't think they would, really, so. They might, though. If there was something happening. Origins is in Columbus. That's a big convention.
What is it?
Origins, it's for, like, tabletop games, D&D and stuff. It's started by Gary Gygax, who created Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been, so. My brother's gone a couple times. He and his friends developed a tabletop game.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I think they still, at least a couple of them. I don't know if he still works on it. He's super busy being a lawyer, but I think some of his friends still work on it, and I think they still go to conventions together.
Yeah.
Or did. Again, I don't know if he's been to a convention since he started being a lawyer full time. Cause they working pretty hard at whatever law firm he works at. Which I would never want to do.
Well, that's why we do video games for a living, right?
Well, you do video games for a living. I just
Well,
talk.
you play them on YouTube and
Yes.
talk about them, so.
Yeah. Much slower paced sort of thing. It was telling me like he had to have 20 clients worked out in like a span of 5 hours the other day. He does like real estate law. I was like, how did that work out for you? He's like, I want to start a drug habit. It's like, well, there you go.
He could
like,
get himself out of jail.
Yeah, probably he could. I don't know if he's well adapted to that kind of law. I mean, my father was a lawyer, so I've always known, but a lot of people just seem to just think that a lawyer does all the law.
Yeah. And there are lots of specializations.
Right, they're very much like doctors. There's no real. I mean, there are general practice lawyers, but you know, not generally general practice lawyers. They usually find a specialization and work within that field.
Mm-hmm.
My father did tax law. As far as I know. That's at least what his specialization was. I know he did like wills and stuff like that. And my brother studied patent law, but he's not doing that. I don't really know how real estate law goes, but that is what he's doing. So I guess it's similar to wills and stuff. I think law is cool, but I don't know. I couldn't do the same thing my father did. Like you're a fifth generation lawyer. How's it going,
yeah.
Nate? Couldn't do that. Because my brother wants to have kids eventually, and he wants them to be lawyers. It's like,
oh jeez. Yeah,
like
maybe don't decide that before the kids are born.
yeah, like third generation lawyers before they even have a chance to decide what they want to do. No thanks. How are you this afternoon, Nate? My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. He still tells me to go to law school every now and then. I really think I would lose my mind. I like the skull you have for Echo, by the way. I just noticed that.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe I should work something like that into more of them, but it would be kind of tough.
Right. Certainly something that works really well for Echo. I just don't know what you'd do for the others.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's actually going to be kind of boring working on these because I'm just refining stuff. So maybe we should go ahead and switch gears to the monsters and such, and I can do this later.
Okay. Baker is exhausted, I'm sure. Nate asked how you were doing. And
I just had to get up really early this morning.
And I went to bed really late, as I always do. So, I'm pretty out of it. But I'm still here. And I guess I'm doing well. If I'm able to go to bed late, I think I'm doing all right. So did you want to do spiders this time or gobbles?
Well, we were
Or
working
bats?
on the wraiths last time. I kind of forgot that we did that at the end of the stream.
Yes, we did work on the race.
And I didn't really. I think I got sick of working on the Jebras, which I've been thinking about calling a Jabara.
Okay.
Because it's just. It doesn't totally change the name, but it is enough that it doesn't sound or look like too much like zebra or anything.
Mm-hmm. Did you see what I named the last stream?
Yeah. Jebrocalypse or something.
The Jebrageddon.
Jebragen, yeah.
I had a good chuckle at that for far too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were working on the elemental wraiths.
So I guess we need to go through here and figure out what we're missing.
So you have Surge, Mantle, Echo, Merc. Oh, that's Muddle, Sunder, Flux. So you're missing Thrive. You're missing Splendor. No, you're not. Oh yeah, you are. You are missing Splendor. You're missing Grim and I'm doing this from memory, which I probably shouldn't do. We already have.
Well, I've got the little chart up here in the corner.
Oh, okay.
If you can.
Oh, did you just put it up?
Yeah, you should see it in a second here.
Okay, so yes, you're missing Spoil, Splendor, Thrive, and Blast, Howl, and Fury is already in the game, and you're missing Grim as well. So, yeah, for those of you who have not had the chance to play Delver's Drop, number one, what are you waiting for? You can pre-order it at delversdrop.com/buy, and I suggest you do. Get in on the ground floor of the most amazing game yet to be released. But the wraith type enemy started as a I guess a concept, if I can say this, from the candle wraith. When we kind of spun off of that on the forums, we're like, what other wraiths are there? They should all be like household items that are infused with this elemental spirit, and thus, I guess a few of these were born. The fan and the Sunder one, at least, was born that way in Mantle. Echo is kind of new, so that one was born here on the stream.
Do we have an Echo?
Yeah, we do. It's the stenograph.
Oh, that's right.
Did I call it the right thing? I'm pretty sure it's the stenograph.
I thought that was something else, but I don't know. I mean, it's...
Oh no, stenograph is the court reporting thing.
Yeah. A phonograph.
Phonograph, thank you. That is correct. And the Candle Wraith in the Delver's Drop game is one of the most annoying enemies I've ever encountered, which is good. I am pro that. It spits out Elementalings at you, and they're very frustrating. Especially for the poor gladiator.
So I think we had, I had this drawn somewhere else, but we were going to do like basically a rose with thorns kind of thing for Thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's actually in this sheet. Or no, this is a different sheet. So I'm not
should...
going to bother digging it up.
Oh, sorry. What did you? I didn't catch what you said. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying I didn't really want to bother digging it up. I'm just going to redraw it because it was just a sketch.
Yeah. You should have the Thrive Wraith actually be an overgrown gun, like vines coming out of a gun with a rose.
Okay.
Because it's referential humor, and someone will get it. I don't think you should do that. It was just a joke.
Because of Guns N' Roses?
Because of Guns N' Roses, that's correct. It's a bad joke. I should preface. I'm trying to think of what for some examples for the others. So I can imagine Spoil might be. Oh, I know what you should do for Spoil. A garbage can.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, these are supposed to be a little bit humorous.
Mm-hmm. How many of Kobe's children are there today? I hear one.
I thought all of them were here at some point. I'm not really sure who's back there right now.
He had his one. I think his oldest has been on stream before.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. When Kobe did a Saturday stream once.
Okay.
How's it going, dude?
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he and his kid played some video games. Did you see? Doom says Spoil isn't garbage, right? But it's rotting things. What do you find? Where do you find rotting things? What object?
And besides, like a garbage can trying to kill you by spitting poison at you is just kind of funny.
Yeah, he says more like acid.
Well, but I thought we established that Merc is the acid-like thing, and Spoil is the kind of poisons that mutate and rot away.
Mm-hmm.
So I realize it's still a little unclear, but I'm thinking of that Spoil is more like poison and fungus, and so like fungus is kind of rotting things and consuming them.
Right, decomposition, breaking them down. Which I think a garbage can would work well for. I can't really think of another object that Spoil It would antipify. I'm using my 10-cent words today. And what other ones do we have left? Did we do one for Hush?
No, I guess Hush isn't in here yet.
Yeah, I guess not. I see. Okay, you have Spoil and Splendor. Splendor, I think we've said should be a mirror of some kind. Oh yeah, because we were talking about could you do like reflections and stuff like that in game. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, I had an idea for how that I think I might have said it on the last stream. Like a dog collar and leash.
Oh, that I feel like that, especially top down, would be very difficult to.
Probably.
I mean, it could be like a little cage, or I mean, well, like a bird cage, or doesn't seem to really fit because Howl is about like animal ferocity, not about animals being caged.
Doom asks about spoil fungus zombies.
Well, the zombies in the world are animated by spoil. So yeah, I mean, like, I was thinking about something like that. Like we kind of expanded what spoil meant in the lore, and I never really caught the enemies up with that idea. So that is in the plan, or at least like, maybe more in future games or something, because I guess every game has to have zombies. Like, you play Dragon Age and have this about zombies now, or like, at least I feel like that, or what, am I thinking of something different? I can't remember now.
I think you're thinking of something different.
What were,
the Darkspawn are in Dragon Age, but they've been in Dragon Age since the beginning.
what are the Darkspawn?
They're like a hive mind corrupted race of humans and other
So you mean zombies, right?
No, because they're not like rotting and decomposing, but they do infect you. So I mean, I guess they're zombies. They're like orc zombies in a way.
Yeah, it kind of seems like every RPG has some kind of zombie type thing now.
Well, I mean, now you say now, like you mean
like in the last 5 years or whatever.
You mean like in a broad sense now, like every game now in the RPG has zombies as a focal point.
Yeah, or just as a, it just seems like there's so many kind of game mythos that have like, here's our, this is our version of the zombie race, and I guess we're doing the same thing. But like even what was it, Pillars of Eternity has these kind of zombie things, and they have a different explanation for it.
I didn't get far in Pillars of Eternity. I have it, but I didn't get very far. It's kind of boring after a little bit. People seem to really like it, but I don't know, it just didn't capture what Shadows of Omn captured for me. Yeah, Doom says the ghouls, which are in Dragon Age, are pretty much zombies.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, the Darkspawn are kind of zombie-ish. Like I said, they have that, like, the infection and rot. They don't rot, but their presence causes things to rot and to break down. So there's way too few broodmothers around to justify the Darkspawn's numbers. Well, the way they justify the Darkspawn numbers is that the broodmothers spit out Darkspawn quickly, but they also, like, when someone dies, they get infected and they rise as a Darkspawn. Or something, they become Darkspawn if they're wounded by Darkspawn. It's silly. The lore can be silly in Dragon Age. But I mean, the reason that zombies have taken such a prominent role is because they're really the last other we can have, Like, Nazis, there's some nuance. Aliens, nuance. The Last of Us had zombie-like things from Moldsforce. Yeah, they took the idea of a cordyceps and created zombies from that. Which, they're real in nature, I guess, to an extent.
Which game are you talking about?
The Last of Us.
Oh, right. Yeah, and I guess that's probably the closest analogy to our zombie-ish things.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine, but yeah, I mean, you can kill a zombie and not have any moral implications to it. You know,
Yeah.
they're the last faceless horror that we can set against. 'Cause,
Well,
you
I
know,
guess what makes it so kind of disturbing or interesting or whatever is they're not a faceless horror. Like they actually have human faces, but are still a horror.
right? Yeah.
Mindless, though, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe a way to describe it.
Well, I think, and one of the reasons why I reject so vehemently the post-apocalyptic / zombie apocalypse genre is that people claim it's a mirror to human mentality, where it's just like this. It's this cynical look at how humans operate with other humans, where if society broke down, we would revert to these horrific, selfish creatures whose only desires are to fill our base primal emotions, when in reality, civilization hasn't always existed. Civilization has been built on the backs of effort and in human solidarity. And it really makes me question why these people think of humans in such a dark, menacing, and cynical way. I mean, I'm a cynic as deep as it can go, but I can't even fathom a human race that's so basal and simple as that.
So are you saying the zombies themselves or the people who would be left after?
Yeah, I'm saying the idea that once civilization breaks down, there will be nothing but bands of marauders and rape and cannibalism and horror. It doesn't bear out if you look at history. It doesn't bear out if you look at literally the sum total of the human experience. It's a monolith that stands against that mentality. Because we started in a place where there was no law and there was no comforts. There was no creature comforts.
Yeah, I guess the question would be though if, like, basically the moment one person starts breaking the law and there's no one there to stop them, like at what point in history has there been like no entity to stop them? Like what you're talking about is like how civilization has grown, and I don't think that's inherent to just like human nature now. I think it's, I think it's a learned thing. And so the moment you're faced with a situation where like everything you've learned does not help you, then what happens then? Like when you're faced with the one person who decides to be a marauder.
Right. And I'm not saying that there wouldn't be,
like it at least becomes the Wild West,
Yes, absolutely it becomes the Wild West. I'm not saying that there won't be bands of people who use might makes right. I'm not saying that. That will I mean, this is a little political. But the anarchist movement, we need to get rid of government. It's in theory, I guess, admirable to want to be fully free and not need regulation. The problem is in a vacuum where there is no rule of law, very swiftly that vacuum will be filled. It happens I mean, look at Syria. Look at any of the places that have had huge political turmoil. When the rule of law breaks down, for a brief time there is this uncertainty and this lawlessness and violence. But humans don't want to live in a violent society. It's not biologically conducive to continuing the species. I mean, even animals don't live in a lawless society.
Yeah, but I think, I guess like the one thing we've never tested is like when a society, like basically we've, hang on one second.
Mm-hmm.
we've never had a society that, like, basically we now have the power to completely break a society through nuclear war and things like that. And
Yeah.
we've never been so reliant on an infrastructure as we are now. So we've never actually put to the test what happens when we have such such an overarching and underpinning infrastructure and completely annihilate it in a moment. Like that has never happened and never been tested, and so I
That's
don't know
I
that the previous kind of like flow of civilization, because civilization used to, like, we didn't have the kind of travel options that we do now.
right.
Like what happens when someone can travel at high speed, assuming we still have gasoline, and like there was only so much damage that you used to be able to do on horseback.
Right. The problem with that, I guess. Well, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, it's the very reason that we've become so enshrined in this concept of a civilization. It's the very reason why civilization won't break down nearly as bad. Because, yeah, we have a lot of ways of getting around, although gasoline really doesn't last long. I think 4 or 5 months is gonna be your I mean, really gonna be your limit to seeing how far people are gonna range. Because once the gas is used up, no one's gonna go back and fill the gas.
But I wonder, like, can people still make ethanol? Like, I know it takes a lot of energy to make ethanol, but
I mean, there will be civilizations, sure, that rise up and can do that sort of thing, and they can repurpose old vehicles and Doom brought up Fallout in a situation where people have reacted to the post-apocalypse by trying to get back into civilization. There are towns.
Here's something. Like, we had this crazy ice storm like 8 years ago in Springfield, and the town kind of shut down. There were just like lines of cars and people who were just like, driving like weirdos. Like, and nothing, like a lot of people were without power. Basically, like everything was like pretty crippled. And if you imagine that, except like the idea that the power isn't coming back on, people I think will freak the fuck out. And then you don't know what any given person is gonna do.
I don't know about that. I think
Like if no one, like, or take Katrina, like, but no one's coming to your rescue, what do people do?
I don't think the freak out comes when people realize that it's not gonna change. I think the freak out is people expecting the change and not getting the change fast enough. If people realize,
but if you realize like no one is coming to change anything, and also no one is there to stop you, and you can do whatever you want to change things the way that you want them changed. Like, in the best case, like, there's a lot of chance for corruption. In the worst case, people are marauding.
I mean, again, I don't think there won't be marauders. There will absolutely be people who look at the fall of civilization and realize that they have the power. Especially a lot of the people who are just waiting. There are a lot of people, at least in America, who are just waiting for civilization to break down. The preppers, the ones who have built vaults for themselves. And Doom points out, without power, a lot of people die. A lot of people, I mean, yeah, a lot of death is gonna happen in the post-apocalypse. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point of a post-apocalyptic scenario, is that a large chunk of your civilization is going to die out. Anyone in a hospital, when the power goes out and isn't coming back on, they're fucked. I mean, we just have to, all the diabetics in the world who won't be able to get their insulin production, they're screwed. Anyone who's on any kind of medication for a chronic illness, they're gone. The sick, the infirm, and the elderly, and the super young, there is going to be a mass die-off. That is the first moment, and I think it's that will cause a lot of civil problems when someone has the medicine to prolong the life of a loved one, and using it for their loved ones instead. I think we'll see a lot of marauding. You would see a lot of marauding for that.
Well, like the movie Contagion with Matt Damon and Gwyneth Paltrow, and have you seen that?
No, I haven't. Because I kind of look at it in the same light as the post-apocalyptic sort of
Well,
situation.
it's kind of a, it's in that one, like they find a cure and things get better, but I think it shows like a pretty accurate picture of what would happen. Like even if civilization is still operating to a large extent.
Yeah, I've heard it's actually not bad. Shit's deep today. Well, sometimes we have deep discussions. But I mean, I'd like to frame this lesson in a political or a realistic light. I guess I can bring it back to video games, because Doom brought up Fallout. And Fallout 4 is coming out. I think Fallout 4 has a good idea with you being able to make your own towns and stuff. That is something that in Fallout that I kind of have not liked. In any of the, I mean, I guess the technology wasn't there really to allow us to do that to a large extent. But I guess my overarching point is civilization doesn't stop. If there are humans alive, regardless of the marauders, and Doom points out there's no marauder is going to be alone. There are going to be a bunch of marauders, and they're going to be a civilization. And when that civilization of marauders decides we're not being marauders anymore, they become a civilization in their own right. They become enshrined in whatever trappings of society still remains. I mean, you look at the Mongol Empire. They started off as marauders. They started off as have-nots. And they built the largest land empire in the world.
Yeah, how many years did that take?
Not many, comparatively speaking.
Well, compared to what?
Compared to how long it took to make the British Empire.
So, I'm just saying that, like, yeah, things would probably settle down once people adapted to the new version of reality.
There will be upheaval. I can't deny that. There will absolutely be upheaval, and it will be pretty bloody because we have the methodology to kill in ways that we haven't been able to kill before. And as I pointed out, we have a large population of infirm and elderly and young who survive only because we have, in our very human way, done our best to stave off the eventuality of death. People didn't live to be 80 or 90 years old that often back in the old days.
Yeah.
And people who had cancer didn't live to be 60 or 70. So, a lot of people are going to die. And a lot of people are going to die who wouldn't have been alive in the first place, which is going to cause a lot more death. So yeah, there's going to be upheaval, and there's definitely going to be problems. But again, that I would think that I guess goes with the setting of a post-apocalypse. I'll be one of the first to die. I have no life skills whatsoever, really. I'm a product of my time. I love technology, and I love having electricity and AC, and plus I live in a desert. So I mean, I'm triple boned. There's not a whole lot of water here. So, not a whole lot going for us out here. It's not just an instant progress compared to the size of Asia. Baker, he's saying you're fixed on the idea that if civilization revives itself, it should snap back in a few years. I don't think Baker is saying that. I don't think Baker is claiming that once the upheaval is done, that civilization will go back to normal. I think Baker is saying that there will be a period of upheaval, and then things will slowly fall back into a dichotomy in the new system. I think that's what you're saying, correct?
Yeah, I mean that it would, maybe like 10 years later, once the average person learns how to farm again or whatever, but until then, people will be desperate. Because right now, like, that's why I'm saying like people are so accustomed to the conveniences. Like most people could not figure out how to survive.
Oh no, absolutely.
And then
We've
people
forgotten
surprise
how
you
to
though. I
farm.
mean, when they're desperate, like people find ways. Like humans are a pretty adaptable animal, but
Right,
like it's
and I
just
guess
until the bullets run out when people are desperate. Like that's a very different equation than like just people trying to figure out how to find food in the woods.
right. Well, I guess that's my overarching point is humans are adaptable. We're so adaptable, and because of that, we have reached where we are. And in any bit of fiction, general, I mean, maybe it's getting better. I mean, I really don't follow the post-apocalyptic genre because again, it's not one that really interests me. Um, but like Dawn of the Dead, where everyone is screwing each other over to get away from the zombies. There's no solidarity. It just That's not how humans operate. There are some humans who operate that way, but humanity as a whole has shown a trend toward empathy and community because we're social animals, and that's just how we're put together. We
But
wouldn't
then I
have
also
cities.
wonder, like, what happens when when our culture is so desensitized to so many things, and also like, in a way, kind of like, has seen all of this zombie media where they expect a certain thing to happen because everyone assumes that when when the apocalypse happens, everyone's going to go crazy. I feel like it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like instead of being ready for it, people will be like, well, everyone else is gonna be insane, so I might as well be insane too, or be like paranoid, and pull all my guns out or whatever.
I don't think I don't think that would be a concern. I don't think that the zombie genre is so entrenched in it.
I'd mean like post-apocalyptic in general, not
Oh,
specifically zombies,
I
I
mean,
guess, but
it goes for all of it. I don't think it's that deeply entrenched in the zeitgeist. I don't think it's a vast cultural underpinning. I
but
just
when
can't.
when you have shows like Preppers on mainstream TV.
Right, and like I said, there are people who have vaults, and those are the people that are going to be dangerous. But they're a small subsection of people.
Right, but I'm saying the fact that we have a show called Preppers on mainstream TV means that, like, people are kind of just fascinated with the weird behavior of other people, but I feel like the idea of, this apocalyptic society collapse is more prevalent than you seem to be thinking.
I don't think I agree with that. I mean, we have shows about
Even
child
though
video
most
games.
people probably think it's fiction, but I'm like, even if they only assume that it would be a fiction, um, if it were to happen, I think there would still be an element of self-fulfilling prophecy.
I mean, there will absolutely. I can't say that there won't be people who have grown up with the mentality of zombie slash post-apocalyptic games and go, my day has finally come. I can be as big a monster as I want to be because screw society. Society
Well,
doesn't
I guess
exist anymore.
what I'm saying is not so much those people as the people who assume everyone else is going to be those people.
I can't. I don't know. I can't think that people are going to be. I mean, I think by and large, that's just going to be a natural. I guess I don't see where one leads to the other. I think that people are going to be paranoid and scared from the get-go of other people just because that's how society is built. I don't think it's going to be predicated on the concept that, oh, well, we've seen all these movies and we know what to expect, so we're scared and paranoid. I think people are just gonna go, nothing is stopping these people from killing me because there's no law anymore. I think that's the logical conclusion. I think people are going to be more cautious and more paranoid and more prone to not be as altruistic as they could be in a society where, you know, picking up a hitchhiker isn't necessarily going to kill you.
I'm having a lot of trouble coming up with a howl and a hush though. Right now.
Okay, sorry. Getting back to game stuff.
Because I was thinking about some kind of ice bucket type thing, but we already have a spoiled trash can and a flower pot and a water pot, so I don't want to do another pot bucket thing.
You should do a snow machine for Hush. Like a really Oh, you know which one?
Do we
have Arcane on there?
No, we don't have that one either.
Okay. But yeah, I was gonna say, like, Hush have it like a really, I guess, steampunky ice machine. Or a a snow blower or something like that. For Howl, though, I honestly don't know.
I mean, I was thinking like, well, I said birdcage, bear trap. Like, I mean, it could be a like a bearskin rug, maybe. Like, I kind of like that idea of a bearskin rug that sort of comes to life and becomes animated, and you know,
that's pretty good. And well, I guess a rug isn't too hard to do from a top-down perspective.
Yeah. It's gonna look kind of weird, I think, but I can probably make it work.
Doom says Hush should be a coat, like a winter coat, winter jacket.
Yeah, we did something at one point that was like and that's why I need to pull that document up again. But it was like a rack of clothing, it was like a coat rack kind of thing, and then it had furs or something hanging on it. I forget what the whole deal was like.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to imagine something that's chucking balls of ice at you.
Mm-hmm. Like a parka or something like that, I think it was. Arcane should be a grandfather clock. Jim is saying a saddle for Howl. But I kind of like the bearskin rug idea. It's like taking something that was once wild and free and like reanimating it with that vigor and
yeah,
I guess I guess it just cut up. He said animated bear rug, yes, in all caps.
Okay. So it's kind of bigger than the others, but I think that's fine.
Right.
And I kind of like the idea of maybe some of these being just objects and then becoming animated, so you don't really know which are going to try to attack you.
Well, I think that goes back to our mimic discussion from the other day.
What about it specifically?
Well, you had asked what is so appealing about the mimic, and I think you accurately explained it.
I mean, I know. No, I mean, that's just what a mimic is. I guess I just don't really know why it's so resonant, except that it's just kind of this like horror movie surprise factor kind of thing. I
think that's it. I think it's a cool concept. I think it's neat where there's this a bit of uncertainty when you walk into a room. I think it's also really good for snapping players out of.
I think they just annoy me, and so I'm like, why does anyone like these things?
Oh, I hate mimics. I hate them, but I understand what they're there for.
Yeah.
They're a wake-up call for players. It's like, okay, you know, oh, this room looks and feels safe, and it's been looking and feeling safe 20 times in a row now, and you're just going about your, we got you! You know, it's that mentality.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. I mean, that's why you put in trap tripwires, which I hate.
Our tripwires.
I just think, yeah, I don't know if you remember when you guys were doing it on a stream, but um, it's tripwires and Delver's drop, and I'm gonna harp on this. I guess this is Vlog gets to bitch about things day. I guess you can't break tripwires by swinging a sword through them.
Oh well, we could probably fix that.
Which it just didn't make sense to me. Like, okay, I have this arrow, I should be able to shoot the arrow through the tripwire and disarm it that way.
Yeah, and I think that was just we just needed some more properties or something to be able to. I think it was a problem of where it was effectively a switch, really is the problem. And you, but I mean, I guess we have some switches that you can activate by shooting them, so we just needed to set it up a little differently.
Right. I mean, I don't have a problem with the concept of a tripwire. It was just, I guess, the inability to solve. There was only one way to solve the puzzle, and I guess, to me, that's
well, because you should at least be able to throw things through it, like throw another rock through it, like even if your arrow went over it or whatever, because its Z height is too low or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Or you should be able to. And I don't remember if enemies could trigger it. I think they could.
Yeah. So right now I have this alarm clock with dynamite sort of thing for blast, but I'm wondering if blast should be something else and the alarm clock should be arcane.
The blast should be like a powder keg.
Well, but we already have powder kegs that are objects in the world. I mean, I guess we could make an animated powder keg.
Right.
But
Doom says throwing things through tripwires defeats the point of it. And I understand that the point is...
but if we make them very hidden, like almost invisible, but you still happen to spot it, I think you should have a way to trigger it without actually running through it.
The idea is to carefully step on it and trigger the thing. Right, I understand that, but you don't want to trigger a tripwire. The point is not to trigger a tripwire.
Yeah, I mean, if the explosive were right beside the tripwire, then yeah, like... I mean, there's, I guess, like, if the radius is too close, there might not be a careful way to trip it, I think is what Visay is getting at.
He says you run through the room and throw crap all the time. Right, but the point of a tripwire as a trap is to catch you off guard. But if you see the tripwire and you know it's there, then your only option is to trip the trap with yourself. That doesn't make any sense. That's not what a tripwire should be.
Well, I mean, we will also have the ability to just jump over it.
That's true.
Once we add the sort of, or like fully implement the dash jump, because I mean, it's kind of been in there for a while, but it just didn't work very well.
It'd be cool if interacting with the tripwire allows you to negate it, and that's what I'm saying.
So you mean hit the interact button, or what are we actually saying now? Like hit the A button, like the button that you use to pick stuff up, and disarms it kind of thing.
But if you can avoid being careful by spamming a range attack, I don't want to spam a range attack. I
kind of see what he's saying. Like if you think there's a room filled with traps and you just start shooting arrows, it does.
Right, and I'm not offering that. Because that would be a problem. I mean, I was just using being able to shoot an arrow through it as an example. I don't really think you should be able to use a ranged attack to disarm a tripwire. I think you have to be a little bit more clever than that. But the point is, in the system that is in, and I guess kind of what Doom was advocating before he said being able to interact with it, and this was my point about mimics and stuff. These are traps that are designed to catch players who are too complacent and are too lazy. Their run is going so well that they don't have to pay attention anymore. They're just kind of breezing through the rooms, and that's the idea behind the tripwire traps and stuff. It's you're not really looking for this minute element in the game, so you hit it and bam, it gets you. And that's good. That's a good trap. That is what a trap should be. A trap should be designed to catch you off guard. But
I'm thinking, the more I look at these, I'm thinking that these should, like, I probably want to change a few of these a little bit so that they essentially are all mimics. There are room, like, I mean, basically what we would do is probably spawn them all as enemies, but some would just have their AI disengaged, so they would effectively just be inanimate objects. Um, and so like the blast literally is a powder keg, but we just like have these little eyes open on it or something like that. And so how we would have lots of these bearskin rugs, so like 1 in 10 comes to life and starts spitting elementalings at you. Because the idea is that these are like household objects animated by these spirits. So now we need to kind of go through. Well, I still need something for Hush unless we do the coat rack, which I do kind of like, but I'm thinking we need to sort of go through and maybe make a few of these, like the this fan. While I like it, you're not really going to see a fan like this kind of just sitting around. Whereas for Sunder, I mean, maybe we have like a an umbrella that can lean against a wall, and it kind of like animates and comes to life. So you could have it folded up, and that's just something that's sitting on the ground periodically.
Right.
But the giant pipe for Muddle is kind of like, I mean, maybe that should be a hookah or something for.
Well, I mean, you have the candle wraith, which obviously doesn't comport with that.
Well, but there could be a candle. That's just, it's a very large candle, yes, but we can make it a little smaller, or make it like a candelabra or something instead.
Okay, that's true. Doom mentions fan stands.
What's a fan stand exactly?
I
guess I'm gonna have to
imagine
look this up.
It's where you put your. I actually don't know what a fan stand is. Doom, you want to tell me what a fan stand is?
I'm just coming up with. I am just coming up with standing fans when I search for that.
Do you mean like an umbrella rack?
I think, okay, this is probably, I assume, what he's thinking, like this kind of thing. But then I wonder, like, would we, how do we kind of integrate this with a zone so that they look natural?
Right. I guess that would be a problem.
I was wondering about doing some kind of like archaic looking, like pinwheel kind of thing.
Oh, you mean a standing? I got no idea how to translate it. I don't think he means a standing fan. I think that's the thing. Oh yeah, Baker got it. Okay. Right. Okay, it caught up. I guess so. I mean, where would you find that though?
I mean, we could make it like I'm thinking there are trappings of kind of the royal family and their entourage, like scattered in these castles. So some of that could work, I think. But I don't want it to be too frequent, or I would want them to appear in more like narrative rooms that have other furniture and stuff of the royal family.
Right.
So I'm looking
on a shelf, I guess. Doom says, which yeah, I guess so. I do like the idea of a hookah. Most of these things I could imagine finding. I guess Merc and Muddle would be difficult.
Hookahs, that's gonna be a weird thing to draw, but I'll try.
Oh well, I have an idea for Muddle. So the steam vents and things.
Do they need to be able to move around though?
I don't think enemies necessarily have to move around. They can be stationary. They would just be a ranged enemy. So a Muddle elemental would just pop out from a steam pipe or something and do whatever it does.
But then is that an elementaling that you can kill? Like or the elemental wraith that you can kill, sorry.
Yeah, we just reduce it to normal steam.
No, I mean the thing that's like the vent that's spitting it out. The whole point of these guys is you kill the source and then it stops spitting out elementalings. Like, can you kill a steam vent in the floor?
I don't know. I guess you could kill the steam coming out of the floor. You could hit the steam that's coming out of the floor. I don't know. Can you cancel? Can you cause steam vents to? Well, I mean, I guess.
If it's an elemental wraith, then it's an enemy, in the sheet and everything, in our CSB sheets. So So I mean, but I'm just wondering, like, do you break the vent, or because the point of these guys is having like we'll have lots of, I guess, turrets that just like spit things, and you can't destroy a turret; it just spits things
Right.
forever. So the point of these, the elemental wraiths, is there's something that kind of moves around the world, or at least like exists for you to destroy, because they're the spawner. So they're
Right.
spawning all these enemies, and you want to get rid of them so they quit shooting enemies at you.
Right, and Doom asks, Muddle is not steamed though, right? And I guess not, but it can
It's
still...
more like smoke and sandstorms and
Right, but they can move through vents and things, is I guess my
yeah.
point. Well, I guess an idea, I imagine you'll be able to turn off steam vents and things by interacting with the world.
But it would still be a turret, I think,
Okay.
at that point. Because you can turn some turrets off, like we'll have switches that will like deactivate all the turrets in a room.
Right. 'Cause my thinking was have it be a room where you have to, I guess, close whatever vents they're coming out of as they spawn enemies at you. So it's like a horde mode puzzle.
Yeah, I mean that would be. I think that would be a pretty interesting idea for like for the pipes in a specific zone where all the pipes are just on and they're spawning enemies rather than just being turrets, and I think we could probably do that.
That was my idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to be random. I guess a lot of these things you could have them be in specified rooms, you know, as part of just as the room is. Do hell on making a steam pipe a special enemy. I'm not. It's just an idea. It literally just came to me. I'm not hell bent on it. I just think it'd be a cool fight. I think it'd be a fun puzzle fight. I guess I have an inclination and am hell bent on making it so not every fight in every room is just hack and slash, which I know the game is designed that way anyway. So I'm just, I guess, trying to offer ideas for puzzle fights that will already be in the game. That being one of them. You could even make it a mini boss room, you know. I don't know, just spitballing.
Yeah, I think anything like that would work well as a gauntlet room and a lot of different things to have these. Or I mean, we're planning on having rooms that it would be a new room type that I don't think we've had, but it's basically to complete the room, kind of in quotes, like basically to unlock the doors, you have to survive for a certain amount of time. So you've got to fend off enemies for so long, and then they either stop spawning or you can just leave, like you can run away at that point. If they, if they keep spawning or whatever. So I think like having these steam vents spawning little elementalings would work pretty well for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Doom says the wraiths are all kind of samey behavior-wise, which, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, but that's why I was suggesting something a little different. At least framing the I guess, the similar enemy in a way where it's not going to be like you encounter every other wraith. And I guess you could do that with Merc as well. Have it popping out.
Well, but at that point, I would just say like that we just don't have an elementaling, or sorry, an elemental wraith for Merc. There's just things where I mean anything can spawn. Like we could have vents and everything spawning elementalings. That doesn't make the vent a wraith. Like these other things. It's just a spawner. Like it could be a pipe or any inanimate object. Where what we're doing with these is trying to, and I'm fine with cutting a few of these and just saying, okay, like, because the player's never really going to miss it if we don't do every single element. That basically we're kind of making yokai a little bit for these, where they are these things that become possessed by magic and become come to life and hop around the world and try spitting elementalings at you because they're possessed by elemental spirits.
Yeah, I understand. There goes my idea of suggesting a case for Splendor, then.
What's that?
Oh, I was gonna suggest for Splendor instead of just shooting out I mean, I know they're supposed to be sending out Elementalings, but I think the Splendor Elementaling should be like a mirror of you. Like the best possible you.
Yeah. Well, or I mean, like I guess these don't. They also don't really have to spit elementalings necessarily. Like they could just shoot. Like the mirror could just shoot laser beams too.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I like having the, especially since we're going to have the Undelver AI, like it would be pretty easy for us to make a mirror version of the player.
Yeah.
So I would have to think about.
Did I lose you?
Sorry,
Nope,
I
nope.
was sneezing.
Okay.
So I would have to figure out how to fit that into the story, I guess.
Right. I was just thinking Shadow Link.
Yeah. Shadow Link, but we have Light Delver.
Yeah, Light Delver instead of Shadow Link. And I guess you also have the Undelver as well already. Which is kind of like Shadow Link in a way. And Doom says also to make your enemy spawners more nasty, you can only turn it off by pushing blocks on switches.
Yeah, we are going to have those big switches, like the heavy-duty switches that require more weight. I might just make them the same size, but just make them look heftier, like more mechanical or something. I don't know. There's some weird like visual problems that I wouldn't have really thought about before. Like you know, Zelda solved like, it's kind of amazing how many just like visual problems Zelda seems so simple, like it's so easy to grasp, but there's so much work actually went into at least the early games. You know, since then I think it has become formulaic, but it's like if I were making all those Zelda games, I'd be like, thank God we solved this problem last game. Like now we don't have to solve, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm. If the AI allows for it, it sure would. Yeah. And the AI is already looking pretty astounding. Ever the optimist of all. I think you could pull it off. You're making a standing fan there, Baker?
Yeah, I tried it. I'm not totally, like I was thinking about some kind of a pinwheel type thing too. I don't know.
Nobody loses to pinwheel. That's a Dark Souls joke.
I knew Pinwheel was a Dark Souls enemy, but what's the joke?
He's super not hard to fight.
Oh, okay.
He's like not a real boss.
I see.
So if you lose to Pinwheel, then your Dark Souls thing wrong.
So I mean, I think having just like a pinwheel sort of thing stuck in the ground, like I do need to think about more animated elements, just like in rooms, just like kind of random things that make it seem like there's wind blowing through and stuff like that.
Doom says pinwheels are great. I don't know if he means like real pinwheels or the enemy pinwheel.
So that does still kind of leave us with Hush, because I could see us having coat racks, but then I think like, okay, so how does a coat rack spit ice elementalings at you?
Well, it could be covered in snow or rime, and it like flakes off and gets animated. Because the heritage is covered in ice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that would be frosted over
a glass
zone.
A beer mug.
Yeah, I mean we could do something like a wine glass or a but then it would have to be pretty small. Like it would, you know, if you go into
wine glass.
Huh?
Oh, a frosted wine glass.
I was trying to think of things that would make sense in this more pristine sort of palace.
I was teasing. A big old beer stein.
Yeah, I mean, short of just having like a snowman or something, I'm kind of not coming up with many ideas. But maybe we should just come back to these later. I can work on something else for the next 30 minutes or so.
Do you want to do spiders or something?
Yeah.
I think you have some good concepts though for the elemental wraiths.
Well, and it leads me to think like, okay, I need to go through and come up with a few more just objects that could appear in any zone, that maybe become animated or whatever. Like, I mean, we could even do like a little table or a chair, or like there are a lot of objects that we could make animation or animated versions out of. So I mean, even like, I guess like if you've got a household object that becomes animated, like it could kind of, if we put little snowflakes kind of magically flying off of a chair, like it could spit ice elementalings, and I think that would still kind of make sense, like because it's just a household object that's possessed by ice magic. It doesn't, I guess, have to thematically match completely. Although I would like for them to thematically match.
Right. Well, each zone isn't going to correspond to just one element, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, and I do want some of these to overlap, so like this ice thing would exist in several zones. Like it might even show up in zone 1 a little bit.
Well, and I like the idea, and I know Doom and I have talked about it, but like an enemy from a really weak enemy from I guess in the scheme, in the setting of the game, it's higher up as you're descending down the mountain, so it's getting, or the mountain, the spire. Enemies get stronger as you descend, so it'd be really cool to see an enemy that has gone down and has survived, like just a level 1 bat in the like zone 8. It's like, how did this get here? Well, it's an ecosystem. It just managed to get down there and has somehow survived. Or a particularly strong enemy having come up from a lower floor and is
Yeah.
and
I mean, spawning out of its depth.
Yeah, and it would be really cool, especially if you have a creature from, or I mean, I guess with the AI states that you guys have, it would be really cool to see like the weaker enemy, if it spawns in a room with a bunch of stronger enemies, it's obvious it's trying to get away from everything. Whatever AI switches you guys have, it goes to defensive run mode.
Right, and that is one thing that we'll probably want to test, is like basically design all the AI for enemies and give them some triggers for like, do I run away from these things, do I try to attack these other things, and then just start putting different enemies in a room together and see what happens. Like, because the AI is definitely going to surprise us at times. Like it's going to be impossible to predict everything that an enemy might do, or if an enemy has something like, hey, if anything touches me, anything animated touches me, I try to attack it. So what if an enemy that isn't trying to attack it happens to bump into it, and it lashes back, and then they just get into a battle because they happen to bump into each other.
Right.
Like, even if technically they're those two species, like it could even be the same species, which would typically be allies, and maybe they get in a fight.
Right, that'll be really cool to see. And I guess that's the idea of emergent gameplay.
And I'm weird with games and make up my own rules a lot of times. Like I try to play the game in these bizarre ways because I kind of like want to achieve something specific. But so it kind of bugs me when enemies are fighting each other, because then I'm like, well, I'm not getting to kill them, so am I going to get less loot? That's what's going through my head. Like, I don't know if the algorithm is different for me killing them versus them killing each other and that sort of thing. So I usually, like, I'm playing Borderlands 2 a lot right now, and I don't necessarily let them just battle it out. I'm trying to like force myself to be more tactical, just because like that's how most people play. But yeah, I just want to kind of get in the thick of things and be like, hey, you guys stop fighting, because I'm supposed to kill both of you instead of you killing each other.
I guess it depends on the game, but in Borderlands, I'm definitely like that. It's like, no, why you don't get to fight?
But
you're both mine.
I started trying to kind of just snipe guys from the back, like basically pick off the people on the fringes. But then they also have that, what are the, I can't think of what they're called all of a sudden, like the big,
Elias?
Yeah, are they called that? Like they've got the face mask, and if you shoot the face mask off, then they mutate and start running around trying to kill everybody. Yeah.
There's actually an achievement to kill a certain number of enemies with one. It's called David and Goliath. I know that, but I forget.
Yeah, and I've tried doing that sort of thing where I try to like kite them around, but then I've had them despawn, or maybe somebody killed one of them eventually. But
Yeah,
I've definitely had
they
them
can die.
despawn when well, yeah, I mean, but I've had some that just disappear. I don't even hear their death cry or anything. They just kind of like, because I'm trying to stay away from them, but I probably run too far away, and then they despawn, or I never know what happened. Like, I don't find the corpse, so I don't know if anything killed it, or if it's a glitch, or if they just have to despawn them once you get out of a certain distance or something like that. But I did get like an ultimate badass Goliath, whatever, which I assume is like the highest level, since it's
Yeah,
ultimate.
yeah. There's an
So,
achievement for doing that.
yeah.
They'll attack enemies and the enemies will kill them. So it's really hard. The more enemies they kill, the higher up they go.
Yeah, the more they keep like, for everyone they kill, they mutate again, or their name changes, so they're now like they go from a normal like rampaging Goliath or whatever to a badass Goliath to eventually to an ultimate badass Goliath.
Yeah, it's actually a really cool mechanic, and it's a really cool enemy. I actually really like the Goliaths in that game. I think they're a lot of fun. Just because. Also, fuck the Goliath achievement. Doom says, yeah, David and Goliath is really hard to get. And it only works on the person who triggered the Goliath. My sister and I who were playing.
Oh,
together,
you guys are playing multiplayer. I just play single player, so it doesn't really matter as much for me.
So, well, I mean, we are not playing now, but when we were working for the achievement, we didn't know that, and I triggered it, and I got the achievement, and she still doesn't have the achievement. So, which is a shame. I think they patched that, though. I think it now works for everybody. So, which is good, because multiplayer. But yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see enemies like that in Delver's Drop too. Maybe not the animation. I mean, the Goliaths in Borderlands grow with each. I think it's 1 kill for a couple, and then it goes to 2, and then to 3 kills for the ultimate. Just because enemies killing other enemies is difficult. But it'd be cool to see like a gobble that just gets bigger and more aggressive the more it kills. Until it's like Lou.
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, Lou was our kind of one of the developers just kind of randomly put a giant gobbling thing in the game, and I guess you were the one who didn't know about it or something, and you
no one knew about it, but I was the first one to find it, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, you guys didn't know. You guys knew he was playing around with the sizes, but you didn't know he'd put it into the game.
Yeah, it was something like that. I lose track now.
Yeah. And it was a big surprise for everybody. And Nathan's just like, "Oh yeah, I totally did that. Isn't that fun?" I was like, "I guess so, Nathan." It's just, you play a game so much. And I think that's what's really cool about Delver's Drop, is because there is stuff like that designed and planned going forward, where you will eventually get to a point. It's like this for Isaac too. You'll get to a point where you've seen every room combination and you've seen every enemy combination, and nothing's really surprising in you anymore. And then you just happen upon this one thing that's like 1 time out of 1,000, and you've just never had the odds, and then bam, you get it. It's what makes a game good, is those moments. It's the moments where it surprises. A game that you've played for so long surprises you. I think that's why I play video games, is for that sort of thing. And a reason why I like Delver's Drop so much, especially with the AI being the way you guys are putting it. I think it'll be really cool to see how all of that reacts. I know we talked about this a long time ago, back before even I think the official alpha came out, was just the idea how the Spire is its own ecology. There's a dungeon ecology going on, and I think that I like that idea. I like the idea of a realistic world where the animals and the critters and everything that's trapped inside live and adapt to that setting. Because they would, especially with magic and all sorts of mutation and stuff like that. It should do that. And especially something like the Spire, where it is kind of exposed to the elements, you should see, maybe not rivers, but like stagnant pools of water and things living out of that, and forests and stuff like that growing because life finds a way.
Alrighty, Ian Malcolm.
Is that who that was?
Right? Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I didn't know that was the character's name. It's been so long.
I think that's it, but I might be wrong. I don't usually remember stuff like that. It just popped to mind.
Doom points out Vault 11, which is in obviously in Fallout.
What was Vault 11?
Doom says I'll find out what it is eventually, but I already know what it is. It's a vault in Fallout that they were trying to like grow food, but it went rampant. Like, Doom can correct me. I'm pretty sure the reason was like the spores became like a virus and started overgrowing into people, turning them into like plant zombies and stuff. Like, as far as I know, the vaults aren't supposed to be. They weren't ever supposed to like actually save humanity.
Well, they were a big science experiment. Or
Yeah,
like psychological experiment or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think some of them are psychological, and some of them I think were actually like biological as well. And I think Vault 11 was one of the biological tests.
I've heard. I've never really played the Fallout games that much. I played Fallout 3 for a while, but I just, I listened to Retronauts and all that. So, and apparently there was Vault 69, which was like, 100 women and one guy.
Right. I don't know if that.
It was, I think, Fallout 2, where they started coming up with. They just kind of went crazy with ideas for all these vaults.
Well, I think they made 100 vaults. Doom can definitely correct me. No, apparently I'm wrong about something, or one of us is wrong about something. Probably me. Oh, 11 is also a social experiment, apparently. Oh, 22 is the plant thing. I see. I got the numbers confused. Oh, 11 is. Okay, he linked to I Hate Nate. Is 11 where they just like ostracized someone? Like, I know one of the vaults in New Vegas, which is the vault in New Vegas, was built around gambling, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. Like luck and odds and stuff like that. And then I have no idea what the one that I'm dealing with the vault now, and I think it's 34 is the vault that I'm working on right now, but it's like irradiated and there's all these ghouls. One is 100 people and one cougar, and it's 101. Cougar, do you mean like an older, sexually aggressive woman, or do you mean like a large mountain cat cougar? And then there's 101 vaults. One is the unofficial test vault. Okay. I mean, I say I probably won't play Fallout 4, but I might eventually get it. Yeah, go ahead, Doom. Explain 11. 'Cause I don't know what game that's in. Probably not in New Vegas. So I'm pretty sure New Vegas only has like 3 or 4. I like the spider, by the way, Baker.
Thanks.
What is that going to be?
This spider. I'm just refining the general spider design so I can make make the big ones look a little better.
Right.
It's a difficult thing to do, and I should have done this more in the first place, but because they can rotate, like any of the enemies that can rotate from that sort of top-down perspective, I've got to draw them upside down most of the time, or at least work on them a lot upside down, or they end up looking really dumb. Like when they rotate, they look upside down rather than looking like they can rotate. So like this guy, he looks good in this facing down perspective, but if you only draw him that way, like your brain wants to put so much perspective in, it doesn't look good when you then rotate him this way. But see, that looks pretty decent. He does kind of look like he's standing on a ceiling, like it looks like his shadow should be up here. But there's only so much I can do. Like he looks good enough facing. Like I can probably change the perspective on his abdomen a little bit here to somewhat fix that.
Apparently, it was 100 people and indeed a large mountain cat. Not a sexually aggressive older woman. That's pretty funny. Oh, Vault 11 is the one in New Vegas, apparently. They had to sacrifice one person in a regular interval, or otherwise supporting functions of the vault would shut down. So it's the lottery. If you've never read that short story.
By whom?
Oh, I'll Google it. Shirley Jackson. Same concept. So village elects for someone to get offed. I mean, it's more than one person, but it's that concept. People vote to kill people in the civilization to protect the society, and it's been used in a lot. It's been used in a lot of stuff. It was written in 1948, apparently. We had to read it in English 101 and study it and work on it for a month, which was awful. I think the worst thing I had to do in college was that essay.
Interesting. Why was
It's
it
just
so
like,
bad?
just kind of this moralizing sort of, like, discuss and explain why it's either good or bad. It's just like, okay, it was just like a give me assignment. It wasn't particularly mentally involving or challenging assignment. Just kind of like type up 6 pages of why you agree or disagree with this story. It's like I don't need 6 pages to do that.
I feel like the spiders need something more unique about them.
What do you mean?
I mean, they just look like spiders. I feel like sometimes I get stuck in this, like, for the rats and the wolves and the spiders, I just kind of made animals rather than monsters. And I feel like it would be a lot more interesting if they had some kind of something to make them a little unique, like the what are they called in Borderlands? Actually, well, they're the skags, which are like wild dogs, but they have big alien flap mouths, and if you shoot them in the mouth, it's a critical hit. And then the spider things. Well, they're spider ants or something, right? Not ant lions. But anyway, they have an armored head and no eyes, and so if you shoot them from the front, they take less damage. But if you shoot them in their small abdomen in the back, then they die instantly, basically. So I'm just, like, that was, I thought, a pretty interesting design. And which was, probably mostly born from just wanting them to have a critical point, which we don't really have capabilities for at the moment. Like, I would like to do something like that, and we have something where it's like like impervious versus susceptible, like certain things that you can only attack from the back, but they take no damage from the front.
Right, and they are called spider ants, by the way. But yeah, I'm trying to think. You should give it human teeth.
Like just big, like gnarly.
No, like just a regular mouth, like a smiling mouth with human teeth. I don't know if I mean, I guess it makes it unique, but it also makes it like deeply unsettling. At least to me, like things that shouldn't have a human mouth and teeth.
Well, I was thinking sort of like a. Like
I don't know if
like lots of. Oh. You're probably not seeing it for a second here, but
yeah, 30-second delay.
Like lots of fangs, kind of thing. Just like a giant mouthful of teeth.
Have you seen the photoshops where people like take it's a picture of a person and their dog, and then they take the eyes in the mouth of the dog and put it on the human and put the eyes in the mouth of the human on the dog.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. I don't know if I've seen it with a dog or not, but yeah, I've seen lots of those. I was looking at the Photoshop troll posts the other day.
Oh yeah,
they're pretty good.
Oh yeah, what you're doing there, exactly. That's totally something I think that makes them look really creepy. Almost like they're like actual goblin spiders. So when I think of a goblin, I think like uneven teeth and gnarly, gross looking. So yeah, that's definitely. Now they don't look quite like actual. That does not look like a regular spider.
And well, I mean, we could do something where like I was thinking like these guys would still have a sort of abdomen back here, like maybe a smaller one or something. But we could do a thing where like it's basically like Granddaddy Longlegs style, like it's all head and legs. It's just, I mean, that head actually kind of makes me think of it's not Gremlins. What's that? I haven't really watched many of those horror movies, but Critters.
Critters? I don't know Critters, but it does look a little like Gremlins.
Well, I thought the Gremlins are like the little ones that you put the water on or whatever, and Critters is like this big furry thing on the. I haven't seen the movie. I've just seen the cover. So I mean, but it looks kind of more like a crab, but it's kind of it makes it kind of interesting.
Yeah, okay, I googled Critters. I can see it now. Yeah. They look pretty small too, though. They look like demon gophers.
Okay, and I haven't seen the movie, so I wouldn't even know. I just the cover is stuck in my mind from when I used to go rent video games, and I would see all these movies I was never gonna watch because my parents probably wouldn't let me, but like see all these movies on the shelf and just be kind of like, I wonder what that is, just looking at it in the store.
My Steam is offline. I'm sorry. Oh, Doom is saying I'm offline on Steam. It's not me, it's the Steam servers. They're down for maintenance. Sorry, Doom. Doom usually sends questions to me via Steam.
I see.
The mouth is not very spidery, which I'm pretty sure is the idea. Baker wanted to make it so that they weren't very spidery.
Well, I think, I mean, maybe let's see what happens if we change it back to something.
I think you should still go with like the mandible idea, but I think you should have it like jutting out from the lower jaw. It's like a lizard thing. I don't know if it looks like a lizard. Doom is saying it looks like a lizard.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Really? I can't. I don't really see lizard.
Just the teeth, I think.
Looks like a squib from Warhammer. Or I mean, it looks a little like Shelob from Lord of the Rings. Or what you had a few back, like keep the like weird goblin mouth, but also have like I'm trying to think of the word now. You know what I mean? The incisors, not the incisors. Why am I blanking on the name?
Pinchers.
Mandibles. The mandibles coming out of the either side of the mouth. I think that'll make it look a little bit more spidery.
Yeah, I'm having trouble coming up with a mandible look that I like. I kind of like the idea of it almost being like these little legs in front that are just, can like grab onto something.
Right.
But then it doesn't look so much like a mouth, I guess. I don't know.
The antlion spider's still got the defining characteristics of the species. Yeah, the spider ants do. Kinda. I mean, they don't have 8 legs or anything like that. Then they don't really look like
they've actually
ants.
just got 4 legs.
Yeah, they have 4. They really
Which
don't.
is really just so they are easier to animate, I'm sure.
Yeah. They don't really look like ants either. They look insectoid. I don't think they look like spiders or ants too much.
Yeah, they're more almost like praying mantis-like.
A little bit, yeah. With a bucket.
Yeah, not as
head.
long, like not with a really long abdomen, but.
Praying mantises are really cool though.
Katie and I saw this huge one. It was like 6 inches long in Kansas City a few weekends ago.
Yeah. I was
I'd never
chased
seen
by a
one that
pretty big one when I was a kid. Well, I mean, I was chasing it. It thought, because I was running around in a circle, but in my mind it was chasing me. I didn't realize that in the manner that we were running, in a big circle, to either of us. So I was scared. I think it was like 2. My parents like to tell the story about it though, to make fun.
I see.
There's a lot of mockery in my family, Baker. It has caused deep-seated emotional issues inside of me. And that's why I drink. Dark humor. That looks pretty buggy. I still really like the middle one though.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
I still think it looks spidery enough.
It reminds me of Seath's weird snaggle teeth.
Who?
Seath.
The
right?
Scaleless?
Oh no, sorry, not Seath. Who's the serpent?
Koth and
yeah, Koth.
Frampt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Frampt is the one I'm thinking of, because you never see Koth, at least in Dark Souls 1, right?
You do.
Okay.
You just have to do things differently. I don't want to spoil that because that's like the one secret in the frickin' game that's cool. But yeah, no, Koth is totally in the game.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of Frampt, just getting my names confused.
Yeah. The king, whatever. Kingseeker Frampt. I hate him. One of my least favorite characters.
Well, his voice doesn't match this big snaggletooth serpent. Just sounds like a normal human voice.
Yeah, that's not why he bugs me. I guess I don't know, the whole fate thing. Doom is probably like, don't get into it, Voss. You're just gonna go off on a tirade. But if I have a disdain for post-apocalyptic settings, then I can't even think of a strong enough word for how I feel about games where like, you're destined to do this.
Yeah.
You have to do it. Like, screw that. Go sit on your thumb or something. I'm not interested. It's a lazy writing excuse. The spider definitely looks sinister. The third spider, a little bit. Maybe it's just because it's like thinner and more sharp looking. I don't know how to like relay that mindset. No problem, Nate. Enjoy your cocktail. I imagine we'll be here still. Should do one that looks like a jumping spider, Baker.
I forget what the difference is.
They're just more squat. Let me grab a picture. I mean, they are differently proportioned, I guess.
I would like to keep the proportions pretty similar because I'm hoping we can reuse parts of the skeleton.
Let's see if this wants to load. They look more like they look like they're sitting up. Here, I'll send this shot to you. I don't know, they look kind of cute, I think. Bug that is. Right. Steam back working? Probably not. Nope. Good job, Steam. You could always add a lower jaw and have mandibles. That's what I was suggesting. Kinda.
Yeah, it starts getting complicated perspective wise, because
Mm-hmm.
let me see what happens if I turn this guy upside down. Like, does it start looking like he's inverted? Like, the more jaw I put in that you can see, because if he were actually facing up, you probably wouldn't see his mouth. It would be hidden underneath his head, you know. So I just have to be careful of putting too many stacked things underneath like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks almost like something out of Five Nights at Freddy's. Actually, that mouth. And I know I'll probably get yelled at for mentioning Five Nights at Freddy's. A game I have no interest in playing. Have you tried any of them, Baker?
No, I mean I'm not really that interested.
In any of the horror games?
I like I mean I like the sort of Resident Evil horror, but
Mm-hmm.
and I have kind of a laundry list of, and I would like to play Amnesia, like that kind of thing, or what's the other one I was thinking of?
Penumbra.
Um, no, there's one I'm trying to think of. It was on Xbox,
Oh,
Condemned, which isn't exactly a horror game, but kind of is. I liked Condemned quite a bit.
is that the one like you're in an insane asylum or a prison or something like that?
Well, you're a detective, kind of, or a cop, but you know, kind of a, well, so you're I forget now what the story is really, but they're basically like there's some kind of drug that's going around the city, like some new drug that's making everyone crazy, like PCP or something. And so you're basically like fighting all these bums who are just like cracked out of their minds on this, crazy new drug
Okay.
that basically
Yeah,
turns them
I
into zombies.
yeah I see it. I googled it.
So I like the first one quite a bit. I didn't finish it, but enjoyed playing it.
It's on Steam.
The first and second one.
I don't know about the second one, but I
I
know
thought
the
there was a
first one.
second one. I might be making that up. I don't know.
It's
I'm
called
pretty sure there was a second one.
Condemned Criminal Origins
Mm-hmm.
is the name. Um. Yep, Condemned 2 Bloodshot, and it is not on Steam.
Yeah, and that one seemed like the gameplay felt better to me. But it had it had kind of a cool. I think we talked about. Did we talk about last week how I really like first person fisticuffs in games? Were we
You
talking
mentioned
about
Xenoclash or whatever that game is.
Yeah. So and Condemned 2 had a pretty good, like, you could box with both fists by hitting the two triggers if you like ran out of ammo, or I forget how it worked exactly, but it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen people play Xenoclash, and it just doesn't, I guess, appeal to me. Like the art style, I think is really ugly.
Well, it's very weird. I mean, it all looks like it was designed by Salvador Dali's child. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that team does pretty unusual stuff. Their most recent game is I think it's Abyss Odyssey, by like published by Atlas.
Yeah, that game also looked pretty.
That one, the character designs are definitely more typical for that one, but I think that's the same team. But it just seems so weird, like the game they wanted to make this kind of. I mean, it's a game I would like to try to make, this sort of. Um, Sorry, I'm sneezing a bunch today, man.
That's okay.
Um, Sort of a side-scrolling platformer-ish game that's, I mean, it's basically like a fighting game, but with some platforming elements.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of like a Zelda 2 sort of formula, but I don't know that anyone's ever made that successfully. Like, there have been lots of side-scrolling beat 'em ups that are good for what they are. That's fine, but I'm not as interested in those, like your Streets of Rage kind of game. But something that's kind of like that in Castlevania. Like, I don't think anyone's really done that kind of game where you have more buttons and more maneuvers. Most of the Castlevania or Metroidvania, I mean, either you're shooting, so like Metroid, or Castlevania, you have like pretty defined attack types. Like, even in the Castlevanias where you can get different weapons, every time you hit the weapon, it's the same strike. So it feels a little more hack and slashy, where you're just kind of mashing the buttons. I mean, Castlevania, there's a lot more like jumping and dodging, but I want something that has like where you're not jumping and dodging so much as like block, hop backwards, jump forward, punch, high punch, low punch, that kind of thing. And that's and Kobe really likes the Zelda 2 formula, so you all heard it here first. We're making a Zelda 2 game someday.
Well, there you go.
Like a side-scrolling fighter thing.
So, do you know Dust: An Elysian Tale?
Yeah, I played a tiny little bit of it.
It's similar to what you're describing.
Yeah, I don't know. I should probably play a bit more of it, but that one seemed really, I mean, well, or like a Muramasa.
I don't think I've played any of those games.
You should probably play Muramasa and why am I totally blanking on the Odin Sphere? Those are kind of like
I played Odin Sphere. I liked Odin Sphere a lot.
Muramasa, I think, is better, and that's probably the closest thing to what I'm thinking, but
How about Guacamelee?
It's a little more frenetic. Yeah, Guacamelee also gets kind of close. It seems even like kind of heavier on the platforming side. Like, I want something that's fairly technical with its combat, but the more technical your combat becomes, the harder it is to, like, how do you turn around to face an opponent coming from behind if you're engaged in this long combo with someone in front of you, or trying to block their hits and stuff like that. So there are definitely some problems to solve, and I think that's kind of why no one's really, like, there aren't that many of those games. Or usually, like, whatever solution they come up with, it becomes kind of esoteric. Like, Guacamelee feels kind of like even though it does have different, attacks and moves, it feels more like a Castlevania kind of to me, with its, lots of double jumps and wall jumps and things like that. Where Muramasa, like, there's not much exploration. The levels are pretty much set, but it feels a little closer to like the beat 'em up lineage of just like flurries of attacks kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know.
My problem with Odin Sphere was just I thought the combat was really difficult getting out of the gate.
Yeah,
but not
it was just
in a fun or interesting way. It was just kind of a slog.
Yeah, it was kind of like it would just take a long time to kill anything. It felt like and the characters were also huge, so it had this weird, like, they really wanted to show off their artwork so much that I felt like the gameplay suffered a little bit. And then, well, their newest game, because that's Vanillaware, like, their newest game is Dragon's Crown, but that is that's more of a beat 'em up. Like, it has basically zero platforming.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew about Dragon's Crown, but I haven't played it. I'd like to.
I liked it pretty well, but like, those kind of games just don't hold my attention very long. The sort of beat 'em up genre.
Yeah. And
we're approaching 4 o'clock, so we might want to wind down. And I'm kind of like running out of ideas of things to draw at the moment. So.
No problem. I was just say I wouldn't recommend playing any more of Dust. I think it's pretty boring. The art's okay, I guess. Doom's like the furry art in Dust. To each their own. Whatever anthropomorphic animals has been done in plenty of other things. So it can be anthropomorphic animals and not be furry. But my biggest problem with Dust is the combat just gets super boring, and they also suffer what I think a lot of the kind of beat 'em up games suffer from, where it's like we don't have a way of making an enemy interesting or difficult. So A, we're gonna mob you with them, and then B, we're gonna give them like unblockable attacks.
Yeah.
In a game where it's designed where you should be blocking and you should be kind of, you know, fluid, making an enemy that literally negates that is probably the worst thing you could possibly do. Excuse me, sorry. Did you want to grab a quick screen capture?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Okay, that's what I thought. So yeah, I mean, and like, my really biggest problem was the end boss. It's like, okay, you're gonna fight the end boss. It's like, and then it's like, okay, second stage, but you have no ability to like heal between them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay, so unless I do the first part of the boss fight perfectly, I'm boned for the second part, and what about the third part? And then in the boss fight was just, here's this thing with an unblockable attack, oh, and it spawns enemies who also have like unblockable attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And in the combat, and Doom is saying the combat's crap, you grind down combos. I think the combat is worse than that. I think the combat is it starts off really cool and fluid because the enemies are kind of simple, but it really starts to
Which
glare.
game are we talking about again?
Dust and Elysian Tale. The combat just bogs down. It's so boring, and It's like what you're saying, like, you know, with lots of combos and stuff. It's just like it's always the same attack. You always do 1 1 1 2 2 1 basically, like one swing, one swing, one swing, two swings, two swings, one swing. Hey Mike, how's it going, man? When you're forced to explain why games are bad, you come across surprisingly competent. Well, thank you, Doom. I try. I think it's the nicest compliment Doom has ever given me. It's not true, but it's the nicest compliment he's given me during a stream, and I guess I'll take it. I mean, you know, it's easy to pinpoint when games go wrong. It's a little harder to conceptualize when games are doing something right, but I try to do that too. The art, I thought in Dust was pretty cool. It's probably the only nice thing I can say about the game. I can't think of any. I mean, the story is generic and boring. It was all done by like one guy though, so I guess it has that going for it. Kind of hard to give it too much crap. Then again, I give Anodyne a lot of crap, and it was only done by 2 guys.
Well, I think that's, you know, Dust is pretty impressive that one guy pulled all that off, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, it's probably pretty insular in a lot of ways because there's no one else, like in a situation like that where there is no one else, or at least very few people kind of giving you feedback.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can agree with that, absolutely. I know we try to be pretty, you know, even-handed on the stream. Here, I'm a little less even-handed on my own stream, but you know, this is you guys are a business, so I can't be like too rough. I think my criticism is usually pretty even-handed. I try to see both sides. Eternal Punching Bag Darkest Dungeon, I have some nice things to say about.
Eternal Punching Bag?
I was just making a joke at how I always bring it
up. I thought you meant it was like some enemy or something for a second.
No, it's my eternal, it's my well that I go to when discussing a roguelike that had a lot of promise that that failed.
On a day when you're like, I want to get really mad about something.
Or passionate, I don't know about mad. It's a shame when something that is so promising and so unique comes out and you fall into the mud hole that every other game has fallen into. The very concept of why you were doing what you were doing, and you fail at that. That just bugs me. I'm not hard to please, I don't think. If you set off to to go against what you see as a problem in the industry, then you should keep going and doing that, even if people are like, no, I hate this, instead of saying, no, we hate what the industry is doing, so we're going to do exactly what the industry is doing to show how much we dislike it, and we'll just do it better than them. It's like, well, you're not going to do something better than the things that you on the things that you hate doing. I hate.
Okay, we just went down like the dark path again. The path we've vowed not to go down.
Okay, sorry. The art's really good in Darkest Dungeon. There you go. Bring some positive back. The devs are really cool. They're very friendly and nice. It didn't give anyone cancer as far as I know. That's a plus.
There are a lot of things in the world that can claim that, or at least we think. I mean, you never know what causes cancer these days.
Emo? That's not emo. Oh, Doom, why did you bring that up? I wish you hadn't mentioned it. A wizard's lizard.
So were you gonna say that did cause cancer?
Yeah, I think playing a wizard's lizard for the 20 minutes that I played it has significantly lowered my life expectancy rate. But I can't.
Or at least the amount of illicit substances you had to consume to forget.
I'll never forget. There's not enough illicit substances in the world, and they're making Wizard Lizard 2, which is what Doom brought up. And I won't say any more on that, because then we'll really get into a dark place.
Hey, it must have been pretty successful.
No.
I mean, if they're making a second one, though.
I don't know about that, Baker.
Well, I mean, if they have the money to make the second one, someone bought it.
Did you miss the news of the new release date build?
I haven't paid attention to the news at all, so I have no idea.
No, of your game, Baker.
Huh?
Is there a date for your release of a new build for your game?
We have some internal things that we are shooting for, but I have nothing to announce at this time. Sorry for the standard bullshit line.
It'll be out by Christmas.
Yeah, we hope.
Maybe next Christmas, but Christmas.
No, yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, sooner than that.
Hopefully this Christmas. Hopefully before this Christmas. Hopefully before this Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's obviously the hope.
Yeah, I mean, we're still breaking and rebuilding the physics system, so that's a thing that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, any other questions?
What is the purpose and meaning of life, Baker?
The meaning of life right now is for me to end this live stream so I can get some more coffee and not fall asleep in my chair.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for coming, guys. For the live stream, as far as I know, we'll be back next week, unless.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything conflicting. So yeah.
As far as I know, I don't have anything conflicting. So. Yeah, no release date, but soon. That is, I guess, the party line.
Yeah.
That we will continue to shuffle out, and if you guys have suggestions for what you want to see for the next stream, let us know. And otherwise, we will see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, everyone.